right.
That's very good. What are you doing on that ball?
Well, I'm really hamming it up for the audience today. Hello, folks. I'm hamming it up because first up, I'm on the bloody yoga ball again. So as usual, is the old codger going to fall off this time? Right. Have to say I'm using an old Navajo trick though. I've got my heels dug into the bottom of the ball, so it's kind of like on a stand.
We're safe.
Cheap trick. And I've still got my gym kit on from pretending that I'm fit and exercising.
So you were doing yoga and Pilates?
Yoga and Pilates and a bit of strength conditioning and swimming.
Yeah.
And a sauna.
Incredible. So it's lovely to see you in such fine shape, my friend.
Well, the good news is the instructor does think I'm 56.
Oh, that's really...
Which is just a few millennia less than I actually am. So
yeah, that's amazing. Well,
yeah, regular readers will know that I'm now... I've passed the threshold of decrepitude.
Well, you're still looking, putting out a fine figure.
And talking of age before beauty, what fine examples are we holding today?
Oh yeah, well this is actually your favourite guitars. These are the most people are familiar with the two P90 330s of yesteryear, but you are rather partial to the one pickup P90.
The ES330T.
Yeah, all important T, which stands for?
Thin line.
Thin line. Okay.
D is double pickup. So right. TD
is a thin line double pickup.
And the same nomenclature applies to 335s. How many single pickup 335s have you ever seen?
None.
No. And I think you could safely talk to almost any collector, even the really mad high-end collectors who collect all the impossible stuff. I don't think they've seen one. So a 335 TD, it's a thin line. Well, like, is there a thick line?
Exactly.
Well, actually there is. It's called an ES150.
Yes.
And it's a dog. Oh! And D, they all got two pickups.
Yeah.
So it's unnecessary verbiage. Whereas on 330s, a 330T has only got one of these.
Yeah.
And this is a 330TN, natural. And that's a 330TC, cherry.
Cherry. Ah, there you go.
1961.
1961. But this 1961, this is not a really thin neck. It's like, it's thinner than a 59 neck, but it's still nice. It's not a thin taper as you would maybe expect.
It's some 335s from 60 and 61 I've played have really got very thin necks. They call them blade necks.
Right.
And they really, I mean, they're really great to play, but they're not your thick, meaty.
No, this is like a halfway. This is really comfortable. I mean, in fact, this is very much like my Navigator 335, which I love. In fact, this is actually the closest thing to it.
Okay.
I would say, it's very similar.
So that was the. I used to have a 330. I'll put a picture up on this video. I used to have a really pretty T-burst 330 from about 65, which I got in part exchange when I was very young. Fantastic guitar to look at, but just boring.
Right, and then you went for this single, because I just want to say, Bob, when I first picked this guitar up, I was thinking, this is a 2P90 guitar with the pickup selector in the middle, because this sounds are you hearing that?
And for me, that's where the sound is. I always find on these guitars, I find that the pickup nearest the neck is, if you're a jazzer, it's okay, but it's very, very bassy and a bit muffled. And out here, it's really quite sharp, quite bright, and lo and behold.
Yeah, but it's got that out of phasey. Has it got an out of phasey sound? Would you say?
Slightly.
There's some phase thing, which is maybe the harmonic, because of the way the guitar is divided. The string. Harmonic.
Maybe.
You're magic right. Spot.
I think it's also a little bit the way you're playing it, because if you use your fingers, you can get some nice little sounds out of the strings as well.
Oh yeah, you're going to be.
So anyway, we thought we'd get these two old trusty ones out because they haven't had an outing for a while, and they are just, every time you get them out, they're just bloody gorgeous.
So let's just play a C minor blues. Play really soulful and melodic. And another thing, obviously, because it's you're not a semi-hollow here, are you? You're a full hollow body.
Hollow, yeah.
So you've got the whole feedback thing going.
I mean, you need to, like, dear old Peter Green in The Supernatural, where he was being so clever. He's moving around the room to get all the different notes.
Yep.
And that was, so he was playing the room like a set of pipes.
And that was a JTM 45 head.
Was it?
Yes.
About which more shortly. But
Very, yeah.
But these guitars, the one thing is that they're a terror to play live because they feed back. And they are quite indiscriminate about the notes they want to feed back on. Now, I don't have the skill to do a Peter Green on a 330. Maybe that's something I should dedicate a week to.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe if we've got a 330 player here in the audience. But my question would be, I'm sure if you get to know the guitar, you're going to know what notes. Normally it's normally that note there. There's certain notes that will pop out.
Most of the time, I find it's lower down. It's more like these ones, and maybe a D as well. So the trouble with these guitars is they do have a habit of doing exactly what happened to you just then, which is if they find a note they want to feedback on, they run away.
Yeah.
So they're tricky.
Yeah.
And yet it mystifies me as to, of all the guitars they could have chosen, why the Jesus and Mary chain played these things. I have no idea.
Well, maybe
with all that gain and fuzz and wall of.
But that's what they're looking for. A lot of these bands, they're looking for the feedback.
Yeah.
They're looking, and a solid body is designed not to do that.
Exactly.
The 335.
And shout out to our friend Artie Zeitz. He plays a 1960 twin pickup Sunburst, and he wrenches some just fab sounds out of it. That's his main squeeze. Loves it. Great player. Hey Artie. So
yeah, I mean, let's take this somewhere else. Let's try and play some clean stuff. Let's play a little bit of some country, which we haven't really done yet.
Oh.
So this is G major.
Sort of.
And really, I love how Dickie Betts, because Dickie Betts was always my favourite, you know.
And he was a very country feeling player.
Yeah, and he wrote that song, and he always had this kind of. That real kind of funky way of playing, you know.
Yeah, well, and also he used to mess around a bit. He used to mess around between the major and the relative minor in his soloing all the time, and there was that all over that.
Yeah, and quite a very modal, real kind of modal player. Really knew he's, you know. Really knew he.
And also, I'm sure he got it off one of the old players, but you know.
Oh yeah, nice,
that riff, you know.
Yeah.
He used to do that all the time. Yeah. I have to say, because I grew up on the British blues, which was so much more minor pentatonic. For a long time, the Allman Brothers simply sounded too happy and clean and sweet for me. You know.
Well, I mean, I think it was interesting because when Eric Clapton went to America, he kind of, you know, really adopted that sweeter sound.
Well, he went to get away from all the Clapton is God fame and you know, Tension of Cream and then Blind Faith, which was, I mean, the more you listen to Blind Faith, the more an incredible experiment it was. But at the time, I think probably the word was it was a bit of a flop. It didn't last.
It just seemed, they seemed like giants, you know, when they're in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
I
was there.
Legendary. Were you there?
I'm old enough.
Wow.
I was a child. I didn't know what I was experiencing.
But I wasn't actually born then.
I lived near enough, so I heard it was happening. I walked down one Saturday afternoon.
And you actually saw it.
Yeah.
And it must have been crazy.
Well, yeah, but you see, everything was so much smaller in those days that there were maybe I don't know.
Could you hear it?
Well, the first thing is there might have been 20,000 people. I don't know how many people there were. There's a lot of people, but by the standards of today, it was not much. Yeah. Right? It's all very well behaved, all very stoned, very hippie, very peaceful, no trouble. Yeah. You know, a few people getting their clothes off, hippie stuff. You know, and could I hear it? Well, not really, because the sound systems of those days were like 600 watts.
Yeah, and I mean Clapton was using like 2 super leads, I think.
Right. Okay.
For the earlier. The early but you're not going to really hear that, are you? You're not going to.
Well,
in an open big park with lots of people.
No. Lots of people all screaming and stuff. But you know, it was interesting. I was home in town for my tea.
Right. very quaint. Very quaint.
But anyway, so back to Clapton. So after that whole thing, he then went off to the States and he went incognito. So he hung around with Delaney and Bonnie.
That's right.
A lot, who were amazing musicians. And of course, they were hanging out with another sort of refugee from the UK scene, Dave Mason. So all of a sudden you've got Dave Mason, Eric Clapton, Delaney and Bonnie, all their friends, and you've got a hell of a band. And they got a single into the charts over here called Coming Home.
All right.
With Clapton playing a fantastic solo.
Yeah.
And it's one of those great solos where the whole band changes key for the guitar solo, and so it gives it an immediate lift.
Push, yeah.
So you know, when we're playing with bands, I mean, you always want to say, okay guys, you're going to get down to the 5 chord when I start the solo. And
which actually, Ramblin' Man, to be fair, does that. Yeah, Ramblin' Man, when Dickie Betts solo, it actually modulates, you know.
And so then bits of that band evolved into Derek the Dominoes. Obviously, Duane Allman came along, no inconsiderable feat that. But and of course, the thing is that Eric Clapton is still kind of seeking refugee status because he's not calling it Eric Clapton and the Dominoes, it's Derek and the Dominoes.
Yeah.
Now, another bit of guitar geekery for you guys out there. For those of you that know what I'm talking about already, bear with me. Dave Mason was in Traffic, and he wrote quite a lot of the hit kind of psychedelic pop songs of the day. Fell out with them during and after the first album. Eventually migrated to the States, made friends with all these musicians we've just been talking about. And probably a year or so later, he set up his own band out on the East Coast, the West Coast rather, Los Angeles. And he made an album called Alone Together, which is famous for having a very extravagant double gatefold sleeve. So when you hang it up on the wall, there was even a hole pinned in it so you could pin it on your pinboard. The album sleeves are about this tall.
Wow.
Right? And it's an absolutely fantastic album.
Right.
It's got Dave Mason writing songs which he's good at.
Is it called Dave Mason?
It's called Dave Mason Alone Together.
Right.
That's the album. And it's got some fantastic songs, but the guitar playing is amazing. It's not very flash. It's a Strat through a tweed, little bit of grind, but it's not high blown distortion. It's not as
It's not kind of hero guitar solo.
It's not as heroic as Clapton would have been at the time, right? But it's so laid back and laconic, and the guitar playing on the album is just beautiful. I've tried playing like that. I just can't do it. I'm too ratted up, you know. You've just got to lay back, and it's the sun's shining, and play guitar like that. It's got a lot of Allman vibe about it.
Right.
That
because George Harrison was also
he was part of the crew.
Yeah, he was. You know, and he was when he did the concert for Bangladesh a bit later, and obviously our man with the Explorer.
Oh yeah. What's his name?
He did.
We did this last time, didn't we?
He did Leon Russell's band.
Yeah.
Leon Russell's band.
Leon Russell's band.
But his guitar player who played the Explorer.
That's right.
And Clapton saw the Explorer and then bought one, but it had the thing cut off. You know, because they made. I mean, Epiphone made a few versions with the cut off.
Did they? Knockoffs?
Yeah, there's a few of them around.
Wow, I didn't know that.
A few companies that made them, you know.
Mind you, got to say, as a side thing, if they're anything like the recent Epiphones I've played, bloody wow. So this jam I go to on Thursday nights that you've been up with,
yes,
Roger, the regular guitarist,
yeah,
he's got this Epiphone custom shot 355.
It's a very good guitar.
Cost him a little bit over £1,000. It's fantastic guitar, and now he's been down the Gibson garage and he's bought a replica of a 1960 TV double cut Les Paul special. Epiphone, and lo and behold, same kind of money, about £1,000. And we've all played it. It sounds amazing.
So word on the street, guys. You may not know this guy. You probably won't ever meet him, but what we're going to take from that is that Epiphone's a bloody good guitar.
Well, Roger Cohen has a couple of these fantastic Epiphones, and these Epis, and also that Joe Bonamassa Firebird that I've got, which is a cheapy guitar as well. I mean, that's beautifully made, and I'm coming to the conclusion, if I now see a modern Epiphone, you know how when you see a guitar you've got an expectation, oh, this is going to be lovely, or this is going to be a bit of an old bucket, and you can be wrong, but you immediately get a prejudice. And I'm now getting to the stage where if somebody hands me a modern Epiphone, I can't wait to touch it. Again, back to the Zeitz, you know, Zeitz father and son. I think they're both great players. They've got an Epiphone Switchmaster, big bodied thing, you know, knobs all over the place, 3 P90 pickups, and boy does that sound good.
These are local musicians here in London. So who's the guy in the jam? Roger?
Roger Cohen.
And what's the other two guys called?
Jake and Auntie Zeitz.
So these are local musicians here in London.
Yeah.
Who Bob meets in these jam nights. You know?
Well, and beyond. I mean, Jake and Artie are now, you know, they're very much on the circuit. Roger is more of a jamming musician.
Right.
Jake and Artie are out there doing proper gigs, proper stuff, you know.
And I don't get to meet these guys because I'm very much a reclusive player. I know very few players in London. Kind of Bob is one of.
You're too busy staying at home woodshedding with a couple of Ovaltine.
No, not really. I wish I was, you know. But I'm more. I know Bob. How did we meet Bob? We met over amps.
We had the Mystic Blues amps in common.
Yeah, because people ask me, you know, like Bob knows all the players. He knows a lot of young players, and I don't. And people always ask me, "Do you know this guy?" I don't know anyone here in London. I don't really know, unless you know. I know, obviously, the more famous players, but the sort of musicians that you meet in jam nights, you know, should know them. But it's just my recluse sort of nature, you know.
I think all those years working in advertising kind of taught me to put myself forward a little bit, not be too pushy, but put myself forward. So I will go up and talk to people. Yeah. And you know, some of them won't be interested, and that's fine. That's their business. And I'm not gonna outstay my welcome and bother them. But very oftentimes they go for a little chat for a few minutes, and that might lead on to something else and all the rest of it. And also, I have got one good lure, which has got some sexy gear, which they quite like to get their hands on.
And you loan these pieces sometimes?
I very seldom loan them, but I do sometimes. I certainly let people play them. Yeah. And under you know reassuring conditions, I might let them gig the odd piece.
See, I personally tend to prefer American. I probably know more American musicians than I do British musicians, and I prefer the way the Americans play.
You've mentioned this before, particularly you've mentioned this in relation to jazz, haven't you?
mainly jazz.
They sort of cut looser. When they cut loose, they cut looser.
Yeah, you get a great American, like the Pat Martinos, but even the lesser known guys, in America, for me, they're just more on it on the jazz thing than the British players. The British players, they come from the metal. A lot of them come from metal. They don't have the blues in their playing.
Right.
That's the problem with a lot of these guys I see playing jazz, and it's like they come from the metal. Sort of, they were metal guitarists first, and then they converted to jazz.
Right.
Whereas the Americans are much more conversant with the country, blues, and they've got that whole Americana thing with them. And then when they go to jazz, it's a much more natural
and also
authentic,
and the rhythms as well, because the crucial thing. I mean, it's like if you find an old drummer, he might not be much good, but he can probably swing.
Yeah.
But if you find a young drummer, he might be shit hot. But if you ask him to swing the beat as opposed to play rock, it can end in tears.
Yeah.
Something else I notice about American players is that they start quite hot and then continue. British players need, it certainly works for me, I need a few beats to get into something. They seem to, it's almost like someone spliced the tape and they're in the middle of playing.
And you've got these Josh Smith, it's Joe Bonamassa, Kurt Fletcher, our friend.
Yes.
They're all like that. They're all just on it.
Yeah.
They've just got this timing thing. But some of the British. That's not to say. I mean, we have John McLaughlin, we've had Alan Holdsworth, we've had these geniuses. But you don't tend to see them in London. The kind of young jazzers that you get to in London are just, for me.
The way I describe it is pejorative, but I'll say it. The way I describe it, they're just a bit more professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether that's because they've got more fire in their bellies because they, if they're not that professional, they simply don't eat, or I don't know why it is, but they do all seem to be.
Yeah, who's that guitarist with the hat?
Not Marcus King.
Marcus King.
Right. Okay.
I was doing a festival.
For our English viewers, he is the Charlie Drake of the electric guitar. I've met him. Charlie Drake was a comedian in the UK, small bloke with a very sort of prominent nostrils, a kind of pushed-in face. And Marcus King, if you are of a certain age and you remember Charlie Drake, and you meet Marcus King, and I met him in Dallas, and it's like, Jesus, it's Charlie Drake, and that's not a very kind thing to say.
Well.
He is, however, a pretty hot guitar player.
I mean, my anecdote of meeting him was I never actually talked to him, but my band played at a festival in France. His band came on after us and blew us off the stage. And I ate humble pie. I was just like watching it all. His band was so tight.
No, it was just on me.
His horn section, oh my god.
Oh, wonderful.
He blew me away. And again, it's this kind of American. Joe Bonamassa, I mean, like I said, I think our last really great player was Gary Moore. The last guy that I thought, really had it was Gary Moore. But, like I said, there's some great young players like Owen Barry and Scott McEwen. Yeah. Great players.
You're right, I was talking to someone just the other night about Gary Moore. I remember, very luckily, there was a blues club in London called Charlotte Street Blues. It was a fantastic, swanky bar. And they had a blues night, middle of the week, run by Sam Hare.
Sam Hare, I do remember that name from the past. Yeah,
and he used to run a lot of.
He was a pretty good blues guy himself.
Pretty good blues guy.
And you know what? Interesting facts about him. He was a stand-in for all the James Bond films, the last 4 James Bond.
Was he?
Yeah, he was the James Bond, the last one.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. So he was Daniel Craig's stand-in on all the.
Was he?
He was, yeah.
Really?
He was, yeah.
Wow.
So he worked on all those 4.
So anyway, so you had Charlotte Street Blues, and the jam there was always pretty well organised and produced some good players, blah blah. But they also had gigs. And one night I was out there with a friend, we made a bit of a night of it, because this bar also had the most incredible bourbon bar upstairs, like 150, 200 different kinds of bourbon.
Yeah.
It was like heaven or hell according to, whether you're drinking or the next morning. But we stood at the front of the balcony, watched down, and Gary Moore did a set in there.
Oh, that's on YouTube.
Right.
You were there?
Three-piece
Yeah,
band.
he had an Explorer, didn't he? At some point.
Maybe he did. Most of the time it was Les Paul and Strat.
Right.
But and I mean, you get this off all the videos of him. But when you're that close to him, maybe 20 foot away, you see it. The commitment with which he played. I mean, yes, the energy and the force, but just the total commitment. It was like coming through. Nothing else matters. Laser focused.
Like a force of energy.
Which is what you're talking about. The Yanks seem to have that.
I think maybe we had it in the 60s with Peter Green, Mick Taylor and Eric, but I mean, albeit they're kind of a little bit more reserved, but I think we had that quality we had some really great quality in the 60s, but I haven't really seen it.
No.
Nothing's really jumped out at me.
Maybe it's because nobody will allow them to play loud enough. Which does take me to a thing I wanted to mention briefly in this video and have a bit of a gripe.
Yeah.
So the other night I went out with my friend Tony to see a band called The Seeds. The Seeds had their last successful single in 1969. They're a product of the second half of the 60s, you know, pre and across flower power psychedelia, right? And they're widely now acknowledged as probably the pioneers of the garage band sound.
Right.
Very garagey. Really interesting gig. Went seeing Coco in Camden, right? The sound was just shit. You went in there, and even the incidental music when it was playing, the upper bass was booming, so you're trying to talk to people, order a drink, and you've got this doom, kind of almost the tom-tom range. Not low bass, but doom of a tom. That booming away constantly. Yeah. And that was through the incidental music, went through all the band. And the other thing was, I don't know what they were doing with the high frequencies, but if you stuck your fingers in your ears, you could hear everything the band were playing, and they were quite good.
Yeah.
But all you could hear with your fingers out of your ears was effectively like putting the whole of the PA sound through a fuzz box. There was like noise. There was so much of this noise you couldn't actually hear the music underneath. Now, I found myself thinking, you're an old bloke, your hearing's getting a bit anyway.
Probably better than mine.
But nevertheless, I found myself thinking, I'm sorry, I need a professor of sound to explain to me why this has got to be so shit. It was such a waste. And it made me think, you know, when you go and see other bands, when occasionally you go to a gig, sometimes at the Jazz Cafe, you can get a band that sound incredible. The playing's fantastic, but you can hear everything inside it. Gorgeous. Yeah. You know? And it made me think, this isn't necessary. Why it's such a prestigious, smart, wonderful venue as Coco? Was it just a twat on the desk? Or two? I was right behind the desk so I could literally hear what they were hearing. And I think, you can't be happy with this. Well, I do it, you can do it. So it's goodbye from
him, and it's goodbye from
the other bloke.
You.
Yeah.
Take care.
Happy days.
Bye.
See you again soon.
Bye.